The Empire got some well-deserved nerfs to some overperforming units in the 5.1 update. I apologize in advance for my voice. I'm still getting over this nasty cold I seem to have picked up. But here we are with a replay from Ryder Rohan, of course, from the Elves perspective. He's up against the Empire here, and we've got a nice selection of units here. Nothing too crazy. One thing, the Hochland Long Rifles did get their fire rate nerfed very slightly, I believe. There were some other nerfs, none of which really apply to any units on this army, so let's just get to the build. We've got Empire Knights out on the side. Demigryph Knights led by Theodore, which is definitely a nice style pick. Got some swordsmen, spearmen, state troops scattered around, and looks like Lore of Life with Karl the France, the Emperor, of course, up in the sky. For the High Elves here, very aggressive rush force here with Rangers just getting straight into the action. We've got Dragon Princes and Lions to back them up, a Star, or Moon Dragon rather, and a single Archer with light armor to provide some range support, techless magic support, and probably magic damage, I would imagine. Yep, looks like Flock of Doom and the bound Fiery Convocation there, so let's get things rolling. Do love me some aggressive builds. Both these players, not anything to it, but just charge on in. Theodore's going to kind of bait Fireborn into the long rifles and perhaps countercharge with Demigryph Knights, but we'll see here. All across the line, looks like Karl charging in. Oop, nope, kind of feints out that direction. We do see Fiery Convocation just on Spearman, but maybe it'll overrun. Nope, not really. Dragon drops down here too. The Empire Knights trading really well into the War Lions initially, but the terror does kick in with Dragon landing nearby. Some of those state troops are going to rout there. And we see some nice Flock of Doom. Good DPS on those Demigryph Knights especially, despite the upgraded Earthblood. Wow, they are also just getting chunked by the Fireborn in an elite cavalry duel that we definitely need to see up close. Let's zoom in on this. I love the Empire Rebel color scheme, by the way, with the gray armor. Looks very cool. But the High Elves seem to be getting the better of that engagement. Yeah, Fireborn able to prevail over those Demigryph Knights there, despite Karl's support. Karl and Theodore have not moved into fully snipe techless, although they're kind of within range. Theodore does suffer a little bit from like horse character mass, just generally Demigryph mass being pretty poor. I mean, we'll do some comparisons after the fact, maybe I'll eat my words, but just in practice it doesn't feel great to use Demigryphs. I know Empire probably doesn't need any more buffs right now, but I don't know. This still makes me a little sad, sort of the state of Demigryphs even after the DLC and everything, but the one unit on the roster I feel is a little underwhelming still. But, yeah, they get shattered here and sent packing. And see Techless healing himself. Did take some damage in that engagement. Karl might try and seek him out and take him out. Got a lot of Dragon Princes still alive, although the Fireborn, I think, took a pretty big beating there as well. Yeah, there's only a handful there alive, although they do have plenty of healing cap left. Potentially get back in the action if they were to get some healing. Yeah, Hergig Jaegerkorps also just continuing to fall back, but this maybe a little bit of a mistake. This Empire Knight probably needs to intercept this Ranger because it is threatening these Jaegerkorps, and it's basically the win condition right now to be able to take out some various high-value, high-elf threats. Maybe not. I mean, you do have Karl still fighting and beating down the Moon Dragon pretty effectively there, but just had an opportunity to block with those Empire Knights on this Ranger here, and it does look like those Rangers, they have the speed and the anti-infantry to just cut down those Jaegerkorps very quickly, and that's a significant value piece and threat for the Empire. You see even some Silver Helms, or Dragon Princes rather, overrunning. Also moving in as the Rangers kind of switch to fighting these infantry here. Empire Knights, though, open field charge, going to smash those War Lions pretty nicely there. Titan's Headsman also from Theodore, means that unit just gets completely eliminated, basically. But Empire really just relying on their cavalry at this point, as most of the rest of their army has pretty much been shut down, and Karl's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting himself, with both Techless and Moon Dragon being threats. Techless not obviously a super threatening melee combatant, but does need to be taken out and can be surprisingly slippery, especially, you know, with the Empire Knights being occupied fighting other units, and they're slowly going to get dragged down by the Dragon Princes. Maybe not so slowly if they get caught in charges, but Theodore can kind of help shore them up a little bit. But yeah, Karl getting isolated here and surrounded by Dragon Princes might have a bad time if the Moon Dragon and everything else kind of combined arms on him. Moon Dragon probably doesn't want to take a 1v1 fight against Karl, though, unless he can get like a good rear charge and then disengage. But we'll see. Karl's having a hard time getting free from the Dragon Princess here, so With the cavalry support, it's a little bit risky still. Moondragon might just get killed, honestly, but we'll see. Earthblood on Theodore there, as the Empire Knights shatter, unfortunately. But the Jaeger Corps do get back online. They have a handful of models still, about half their unit models, a little less than half, but still enough to do some effective damage, certainly in this late game, so Rider Rohan does need to allocate some resources to try and chase them down. He's got some Rangers. That'll take a while to develop. Maybe could peel some of these Dragon Princes, but right now just focused on taking out Karls. He's gotten a really advantageous engagement with the Moondragon. That's a disaster for the Empire, so that's probably the back-breaking engagement, I would imagine. But, yeah, fun game. Well played by both players. Nice to see some sort of different builds. The High Elves being very aggressive with the rush. I kind of like it. Rangers, I don't know, they trade all right in the state troops. Not the most cost-effective in the world, but they're a decent, kind of fast Vanguard unit you can get now with Vanguard to get right on your opponent, and the cavalry just rush in to back them up, obviously. They don't necessarily need Vanguard, but Moondragon, fast monster that helps. It's kind of good all around, to be honest. You don't have to pay quite so much you would for a Star Dragon, so you can then reallocate some of that to take some more impactful cavalry, Fireborn especially, performing quite well against those Demigryph Knights, but even the base Dragon Prince is also doing quite well here. As Black, unfortunately, I mean, he played it pretty well, but just a couple of engagements there. I think, honestly, just the peeling the one Empire Knight is the biggest one, just to block the Ranger, to keep those Jaeger Corps alive a little bit longer, apply some extra pressure to, like, either the Dragon or to those Dragon Princes, which I think is what he was targeting with them. So, a very small seeming thing, but I think kind of had a little bit of a snowball effect in the long run. But even still, Jaeger Corps were able to get some really nice value. Theodore's a nice style pick. Like I said, I just don't love where he's at or love where Demigryphs are at right now. So, again, I respect the pick from a style point of view. But, yeah, in the sort of elite cavalry arms race that is Warhammer 3, cavalry, Demigryph Knights have been left so far in the dust that I don't really think they're necessarily worth taking in most matchups. I don't know. I'm sure by saying that I'm going to get sent a bunch of replays of them doing well, and by all means, if you have replays of Demigryph Knights just absolutely rocking the house, or even carrying games, send them on my way, by all means. But just as it stands, they're pretty underwhelming overall, especially when you look at, again, elite cavalry arms race. And I know the High Elves Regiment of Renown here, 1800 for the Fireborn. It's not really a fair comparison unless maybe we look at the Royal Altdorf in terms of cost in Regiments of Renown. But the thing is, the Fireborn, because of martial mastery, just have way better sustained combat stats. They've got physical resistance as well. Demigryph Knights do have a little bit higher armor, but less leadership as well for the Regiment of Renown, which is something that actually matters quite a bit. Only 75 leadership and no immune psychology. They have pretty low HP too, like, I don't know, 6,000 is not by any means, like just under 7,000, right? I guess it's comparable to the Fireborn, but that physical resistance goes a long way in most matchups, right? Obviously, you have the Flaming, which, again, it's part of the Regiment of Renown status that kind of balances out, or even... does it balance out with Terror, with Kindle Flame and other synergy abilities? I would argue that it does, because of the damage increase is fairly substantial. Charge bonus on Demigryph Knights is just not very good, so... And even comparing them to other sort of elite, more monstrous cavalry, yeah, I apologize in my sick state. I'm having a hard time just recalling here, but let's just kind of pick a faction, right? Chaos Dwarfs, fairly new. They have these cool bulls, which again, a little bit more expensive than the Demigryph Knights, but just in comparison, I mean, the bulls have half the unit models, about double the weapon strength, so that seems about right, but obviously the armor's different, leadership is about the same, which is interesting. They do have about 3,000 more HP, a little under 3,000 more HP, which is huge. I mean, that makes a huge difference. And, I mean, charge bonus, again, not great, but they actually have mass, which does matter quite a bit. That's something else I was going to look at. 1,700 mass. Demigryph Knights at 1,500. That doesn't feel right. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I guess most of the Empire traditional cavalry is sitting at 1,000. Let's just quickly go through. I actually haven't looked with this new UI feature. Let's all discover together and look through some different elite cavalry mass. 1200. Yeah, I think there's entity size large. I mean, they're all entity size large, right? But there's got to be something more going on under the hood here. Hemingriff Knights, I guess all this to say, they just need a little bit more. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification button every time I upload a new video. You'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.